Welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Bungie recently announced some pretty big changes coming to how armor, mods, and the seasonal artifact will work. They also fleshed out some new features coming to the game in Lightfall, such as loadouts and how to better counter champions in in-game content. Today we'll start off by taking a look at the new loadout system coming in Lightfall. These loadouts will allow you to swap entire sets of gear simultaneously. They'll be saved so you won't have to move gear around when changing builds, which this will make it so much easier to create things like PvP builds, raid builds, even a strike build or gambit build if you wanted. So it'll make things much easier for players who just have a lot of armor that they actually want to do something with and don't want to basically make a Excel spreadsheet to have to organize it. Bungie is also giving us the ability to label our loadouts with names and icons, so you'll be able to label it like Raid or Crucible and then give it a specific icon that better ties with that, so it's easy to identify quickly when you're swapping out the different loadouts. So if you're loading into a match, you're like, oh crap, I didn't swap it, quickly just click like whatever has the Crucible icon, which I would assume would be one of the icons. You could choose something like that and it'll be easy. You want to just scroll through a list. You'll have icons as well. Another piece of information that came out recently was that 10 loadouts per character will actually be the limit. So a lot of people thought it would be like 5, 6 loadouts per character, but it's actually going to be 10, and these will be earned via Guardian rank. So from what it sounds like is veteran players will either have all 10 or have most of them unlocked to start with, and new players will need to slowly unlock their 10 loadouts as they go, but I would assume they'll start with at least 1 or 2. Another piece of information that was shared in Bungie's big blog posts were elemental wells and how they're actually being removed from the game and being replaced by different damage specific spawned objects is kind of how they describe them. So think of this like the ionic traces for arc, how those work, fire sprite for solar. I don't know if that's in the game right now, or void breaches. Stasis shards are a thing right now, and strand is also going to receive its own type of, I guess, spawned object. That's another change coming. Another big one is actually how champions will also be receiving kind of an overhaul almost. So champions play a huge role right now in how we create our builds in Destiny, and a lot of people don't like them. I'm personally okay with them, but I'm really excited for these changes because right now our builds are very limited to what champions we're facing at the time. So you have to switch to anti-barrier, unstoppable, overload, all these different things. Instead, champions will now be affected by our subclasses. So here it says for let's say barrier champions, solar, void, and strand will be able to counter them, while for overload, arc, stasis, and void. And unstoppable, it even says arc, solar, stasis, and strand will be able to counter them. So now instead of just weapons, it'll also be our actual abilities and subclasses to counter them. Something else coming up in Lightfall is actually how the seasonal artifact will work. And so the seasonal artifact right now in the game exists as a sort of like unlock tree in which as you unlock it you apply it to your armor pieces, and that takes up energy in your armor pieces, so you can't have as many mods, or it kind of affects your build in ways you don't like. Coming in Lightfall, the artifact will actually work as almost like a passive unlock tree, so you'll unlock it and it'll be passively applied to your character. It's no longer you unlock it and you apply it to your armor, now it's just ready to go as soon as you unlock it. To make this balanced though, I believe they're limiting the amount of unlocks you can have at a certain time, but to make it easier to swap and change these, there will be no cost to resetting your actual seasonal artifact. So these are just some of the big changes that I wanted to discuss on the channel, just get this news out here to as many people as possible, because these are really great changes coming to Lightfall, and I think honestly, Bungie has been listening to a lot of our feedback, and even just recently, they announced that blues will no longer be dropping for people who actually hit the soft cap, so our postmasters are finally free from the tyranny that was the blue engram. Thanks for watching and sticking around to the end of the video, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions or questions, feel free to leave a comment below.